JP Morgan is now upping its prediction for a recession this year to 60%. That uncertainty casts a new, darker shadow over the state budget forecast, which even before last week was predicted at a future $6 billion deficit in coming years. What's not clear is how big will federal budget cuts be. Minnesota currently receives $23 billion in federal aid a year, accounting for 35% of the state's revenues. The U.S. Senate passed a GOP budget bill on Friday this weekend, which could mean $1.5 billion in federal Medicaid cuts for Minnesota per year. Joining me right now is the Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy. Thank you so much, Leader Murphy, for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me ask you about that. With all that is going on, that national outlook of a very grim economic outlook, the tariffs, the Senate budget that was just passed, you could be looking at an additional $1.5 billion in cuts. You just proposed some serious cuts over the next few years, which I know you are loath to do. How does that set you up?
So first, I want to say our caucus is determined to do our job and to do it well for the people of Minnesota, protecting the things that matter to them and making sure that we balance the budget for 2 and for 4 years. So we have been with an eye on the fiscal health of the state of Minnesota, proposed some spending reductions, some modest revenue. We have balanced the budget in our targets for 4 years into the tails, and we do take effort to cut that structural imbalance in the out years. And the reason why that's important is because if our budget is unstable here in Minnesota, it is going to be harder for us to weather the uncertainty and unpredictability coming from Washington. Right.
And what you were saying is that you have proposed some very serious cuts. We want to look at some estimates. This is with inflation. The governor is proposing $5.5 billion with inflation factored in. These figures are from the Minnesota Office of Management and Budget. DFL, $5.2 billion, again with inflation factored in. GOP and DFL House doing a little differently, $3.7 billion. Is that going to be enough if you get hit with a $1.5 billion per year cut in Medicaid, which I know a lot of people watching are really worried about?
And people are worried about it, and they're talking about it, and it's what keeps me up at night. We have to think about 3 things at one time. We have to balance this budget based on the forecast that we got in March.
Which is what you've done.
Which is what we've proposed, and now we have to bring those bills through, try and be done by May 19th. We're also seeing the beginnings of the impacts. Tariffs and weakening markets for farmers, people laid off from their jobs, both federal jobs, state jobs, layoffs of miners up in the Iron Range. So we are already feeling the pressure of what's coming to us from Washington. And we know that there could be deep cuts based on the resolution passed by both now the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate that could mean significant budget cuts to things that people count on, particularly things like food support and SNAP, public schools, and Medicaid. And so we have to think about all 3 of those, and we can't respond to them all at one time, but our caucus is ready to do the work now and this summer if we have to protect Minnesotans.
And this summer, if we have to, would mean having to come back in a special session if there are some dramatic change, which there well could be almost tomorrow. I mean, it seems like you never know these days.
I continue to hope that our congressional delegation, and particularly our Republican members of Congress, understand that their job is to represent the interests of Minnesotans and forestall some of these cuts. As I was mentioning to you earlier, I was in Wilmer yesterday. I heard from 2 different people deeply concerned about those cuts to Medicaid and how it would unravel their families and their way of life.
You know, I think I want to talk about what you saw in Wilmer, because I think this is really interesting. After that rally yesterday with 18,000 people, you went to Wilmer, and there were 750 people there. This is a Republican conservative area. Lots of farmers, lots of small business people. What were people saying, or in general? You gave us a couple of examples, but I think that's telling that there were people that were that concerned come out on a Saturday.
They were turning people away. We were in a cafeteria at a public school, and it was packed, standing room only. At least 750 people there. And they were well informed about the things that are happening, and they were hoping to talk to Congresswoman Fischbach. She wasn't there. But
it's her district.
It's her district. Yeah. So I was there to make sure that they had someone who had some hands on what was happening. I talked to a woman whose husband is a disabled vet, fought in the Vietnam War, 100% disabled, getting his care in a nursing home. And she waited until we were done and talked to me privately because she's so scared about the cuts to Medicaid and what it could mean to her husband's care. She said, I can't take care of him at home. I don't have that kind of money at $16,000 a month. What will happen to my husband, a veteran, if they make those kind of cuts? Another woman talking about, she told the whole room about foster kids with special needs and Medicaid being a lifeline for them, and what will happen to her family if they're cut. We heard from librarians, someone who works at the Department of Health. There were a lot of farmers there worried about tariffs and markets and their ability to produce food, to produce the thing that is such a key part of our economy here in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, it is a time of great anxiety. I could say, Senator Murphy, thank you so much, Leader Murphy, for coming in. Obviously, we're going to be following the budget situation as it develops over the next few weeks and possibly even the next few months, depending on what happens in Washington.
I'm happy to talk to you anytime. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.